Welcome, guys, to the MMOs.com podcast. This is episode 92, and this is Altai, joined this week by
Omer,
Gumball, Matt,
and we are still missing Shrelia. Hopefully, she should be back soon. We have a really good podcast this week, and before we get to some topics, Gumby, take it away with the weekly raid and the weekly raid recap.
Well, we're going to start with the recap. Last week was, of course, Valentine's Day, the most romantic day of the year. Also, the one day of the year Hallmark makes a lot of money. But we asked our audience about their romantic run-ins in MMOs, and we had a few interesting comments, and I'm just going to highlight a few of them here. I didn't think that people actually kind of fell into relationships through games. I was dead wrong. Ecobots actually informed us that he met his wife through Counter-Strike, which is really cool. Good on you two. And we had another couple that met in a game. Someone else met his wife in Ragnarok Online back in 2004. That's really dope. Only one person really had a negative experience running in with their attracted sex in a game. Somebody met a girl who started harassing him with nudes, which I guess,
please harass me with nudes.
Please, girls,
basically, apparently,
send them my way.
Whoever this person was sending them to everyone in his guild, and it was a bit weird. So, I could see how that could be a little awkward. You kind of, especially if you just want to play the game and you're not really interested in the other person. But anytime you leave a comment, we got lots of comments. We will happily read them out loud, especially when they are fascinating. So I guess you can find love in games, is what we learned. Which is pretty cool. But this week, we are turning our attention to something a little more controversial, a little more heated. This week, we're talking about fatigue systems. On our Sunday Funday, I made the sordid mistake of bringing up a topic which led us here. It turned into quite a heated discussion, but Sunday Funday is not the right place for it, so we're bringing it back up in the podcast. Basically, we're wondering, do fatigue systems, in general, any type of system which limits the amount of time you can perform a certain activity in a game, think labor points or some type of stamina system like in Fire Emblem Heroes, do these systems hurt MMOs? Do they cause you to feel like you're on an unfair playing field? We can keep in mind, it's not necessary, but we'll keep in mind that a lot of times these fatigue systems are overcome through some type of cash shop item. But we're going to have a roundtable discussion. I actually have no idea where I stand on this, so maybe I'll be persuaded. And if anyone wants to leave a comment, please do. Aaron is probably going to correct how I worded this. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, all I was going to say is I want to give some context. We were playing Bless,
Sure.
And then Gumbles brought up an issue he had with the Revelation Online crafting system. How he would have to make two characters to do all the crafting he wanted because there was some kind of limitation on you couldn't gather and craft on one character as much
Something along those lines, yeah.
Okay. And then Remo here jumped in about something about fatigue systems.
Aaron's already planting flags here, but Aaron, since you're eager to jump in, why don't you just give us your overall opinion on fatigue systems? Maybe elaborate a bit where you stand on them.
Sure. So
your own personal opinion there.
So when Omar or most people hear fatigue system, they're thinking of what a game like Dungeon Fighter Online would do, or what many mobile games do, is where you can only do a certain number of expeditions, right? Like a certain amount of content, and then you simply cannot do anything. So I'll call that the hard wall, okay? But what people miss or don't think about is many games have fatigue systems in the subsystems within their game. For example, what Gumball was saying about the crafting, where you can still do other things, but the crafting part is, daily limit or hourly limit or whatever it is. So one game that does this and has been doing it successfully, I believe started the trend for this, at least in the subset, is World of Warcraft. The high-level raids have a 1 week reset, which means which really gates how fast a guild of 40 can get geared, right? Otherwise, top guilds, organized guilds with time, could literally gear everyone in an afternoon. Just keep farming the boss, but they can't do that. And I think it's a really good system because it stops burnout.
I gotta correct. I don't think any of us are referring to the gating of content through World of Warcraft's resets, right? Resets is a different mechanic. I'm talking about mechanics designed from the get-go to gate away content that you can be unlocked with money. All right, those mechanics are the issue because I don't think anyone has a problem with the way WoW does resets or Final Fantasy IV or any MMORPG handles raid resets.
Okay,
I agree. It is a form of locking and it does slow down progression and gearing, right? But that's a different kind of.
So-
I want to put that different subsegment for now.
I don't buy that, because imagine like what game give me an example of what you would consider fatigue then, like a hard like.
All right, let's say okay, there are multiple ways. Arcade's labor system is a form of limiting how much you can play and how much you can take advantage of the crafting and resource gathering and stuff like that. But what about DFO's system of fatigue system would be an example. However, they are pretty generous with their fatigue system. And
Can I bring up an example
of an Igarius.
Here's an example that's extremely relevant. The game just came out, and it's a mobile game. It's Fire Emblem Heroes. I think everyone here has played it, no?
I played it a lot.
Briefly.
So Fire Emblem Heroes has a stamina system. It's at the top of your bar. It's 50 out of 50, and basically every time you engage in combat, some of your stamina is used up, and it's restored I think it's every 24 hours or so. So if you keep playing, the stamina requirements to do missions goes up and up and up, but eventually you're spending 15 stamina to do one mission. Therein, the more you play, the more stamina it takes to keep playing. So eventually you're only able to put in, say, 3 rounds of combat before you're now waiting to regain that stamina. Or you have to pay for an item in the cash out that restores it. I think that's probably the best example of what we mean when we say fatigue system.
Yeah, that is the hard fatigue system, and that's
what I want to focus on in this discussion.
Okay, and the reason I keep bringing up the WoW thing is, WoW is a much bigger game than the Fire Emblem Mobile, right? We can agree. Yes. Okay. But the purpose that WoW uses the resets and the purpose that Fire Emblem uses the labor thing is the same. If it didn't have that, you could burn through the campaign in Fire Emblem on easy, medium, hard, right? All 3 in like an afternoon. Like I did. I burned through the whole easy thing in like an hour. I'm almost done with the hard thing. And the only thing slowing me down is the fatigue system. So they're trying to stop burnout. That is the which I guess kind of makes sense. Fatigue, you don't want to burn out. So
I don't think it's burnout. It's a monetization system. Come on, are you telling me that they're doing it just for burnout?
Yeah.
They want to make money.
They want to make money in the long run. They don't want to front load. Like imagine you burn through the game in an afternoon. You're gonna uninstall it. You're done with it. So I don't
think that's the reason.
I think it's a pacing thing, and I think besides money, obviously they want to make money, right? But it's a pacing thing. Otherwise, WoW would not have resets. Other games, Riders of Icarus is a good example with no subscription, so they have to rely on the cash shop, and they have dungeon resets over time or by paying.
I do want to say I like the labor point system better than the hard restrictions that you can run into. I mean, I also want to mention that actually Vindictus actually had a stamina system, a fatigue system in the Western market. It has it right now in the Korean market, but they got rid of the fatigue system in both Dragon Nest and Vindictus. Next, they got rid of both because they realized it wasn't tailored to American tastes, so they got rid of them. But in the EU versions and the Korean versions and other international versions, you still have fatigue built into those games. And a fatigue system that actually just limits your ability to do the content is a no-go. At least in Arcade, you can get labor points for free. It was actually really bad when they first started because you had to be logged in to get the fatigue points if you were a non-paying member. And if you just left yourself on minimized, the game would kick you out for being AFK, right? So every 30 minutes, you had to unminimize the game, jump once, and re-minimize the game, right? Just to take advantage of fatigue. They fixed that by letting you stay AFK, which is still pretty stupid because why even have the game running if you why not just be able to gain fatigue points while not online? Why drain your resources? But at least that system lets you create multiple characters, and once you hit your fatigue, you can still play the game, right? The whole crafting and resource gathering was just one element. I still personally I don't want to sink time into a game when I know other people can just get stronger than me by just playing more and paying to have access to keep playing more. It feels like a really cheap monetization system. And I don't want to harp on DFO for having it because everyone that plays DFO kind of says the game gives you so many free. You can actually buy fatigue potions in the auction house. They give away them like candy in the events.
No. You're walking yourself back. I mean, it's either there or it's not. Whether some people think it's generous or not is not. So then you just agree with me, and it's a matter of degree. You're right. If a game allows you to play for 2 minutes and then it gates you, obviously I don't like that. But my purpose is even you forget the money part. You benefit from these systems because it prevents burnout. And there's a really good conversations going on in the Twitch chat. I can't read it all, but from what I'm reading, it's really interesting. Some guy said dungeon resets equal months of subscription. So the fact that you can only do the dungeon once a week, I think is very important for retention. It makes it an event. It makes it something to look forward to every week. We're gonna do Wednesday's raiding night. It's not just 20 guys clearing it 18 times and then they're done and they never go back to it ever again.
Yeah, when it's done that, it's good.
I think a different way to look at it is you have your options, right? You either, as a player, stay longer and give them more money in the long term. Is okay. Here's what Erhan's trying to say, at least, right? And what works in practice. How it works in practice is either you stay and you give them money in the long term through different methods, and you stay in the game longer because of the fatigue systems and because of the dungeon resets. Or in the case of games where you can pay to avoid the dungeon resets, you pay a shit ton of money to get through the fatigue system, and they still get the money anyways, even if you burn out in a week. So it's all down to they get the money. It's just you decide how they get the money.
Yep.
Look, I agree with you. I'm not against it in principle, okay? I think it can be done in a way that actually enhances the experience. The way resets work for dungeons actually ends up making you look forward to content, right? That can be done in healthy ways, and players don't really bitch about that. I don't see, like, why can't I keep running this dungeon over and over again? Like, that's not really a topic of complaining. It's when a lot of Asian games just literally just stop you from playing or being able to gain anything through the fatigue systems. I think bothers most people.
If your argument is, a lot of games do it poorly, I mean, I'd obviously agree with that. I mean, there's right ways and wrong ways to do everything, but as a principle, as a feature, but it can be done well, and I think it can. Even people who don't pay, I really think it can enhance their long-term, lifetime experience of that game by not forcing them to take breaks or look forward to. Imagine, like, when we're kids, we're all kids, right? We're grown up.
Yep.
Our parents say, it's the weekend, you can play for 3 hours or whatever, right? And so you run to the computer or the console and you play those 3 hours. You're having a great time, and then your dad walks in, he closes the goddamn thing, right? That's it. You're done. Yeah. Go homework. Now all week, you're looking forward to it again. But if you just sat there for 18 hours like a fat ass and just playing it, you're done. That's burned out.
No, you're not done. But that's where you're wrong, right?
I don't think so.
When we were younger, we were able to play EverQuest, Ultima Online. We played SNES too, by the way. I'm bringing MMO examples, right? We would literally wake up in the morning during the summer. We would sprint from our bedrooms, sprint, because we were so impatient, to our PC, and we would just play EverQuest, Ultima, Dark Age of Camelot, Diablo 2 all day until we were peeled off our computers and forced to go to bed. But we played 18 hours nonstop, right?
But
guess what?
We could only do that in the summer. Yeah, the summer.
Day.
And we look forward to the summer so we could do that
No, good games can be designed around. Yeah, I agree. There are some elements of those games that were designed that are resetting and preventing you from burnout, but just not being able to play extended periods of times. I don't think the game should tell me that I can't play
for an hour.
For the day. Once you reach
it depends on the game. Like Fire Emblem, for example, you gain continuously. It's not like a hard it doesn't reset once at 24 hours. Continuous stamina reset.
Okay, this is off subject a little bit. I think actually that the limitations are healthy because the thing that people don't realize is that, people hate pay to win, but one of the big reasons, especially in PvP focused MMOs, that people the new player drop off happens over a long period of time is because they reach a certain point where it might as well have been pay to win because the people that are at the top have such high level gear that the people at the bottom have no chance of catching up. And they're experiencing the exact same thing that happens in pay to win situations just over a longer period of time. So the limitations are very important because it allows people that are casual to keep up with the people that are not casual, that are playing it all the time. The thing is, it has to be done in a way that it's not intrusive or it doesn't feel intrusive, but at the same time keeps people balanced around. But to go back to the original question, which is, does it hurt MMOs? At one time, I might have thought it hurt MMOs, especially when you see that Vindictus, Dragon Nest, and even Dungeon Fighter Online, which is very popular everywhere but America, the West, they dropped off really hard. Possibly because of the fatigue system, and then Arcade dropped off really hard. But with the resurgence of Arcade following Arcade 3.0 and the fact that they still have I think over 2,000 people a day on Steam, I think it's making a point that it doesn't actually hurt games. It's just how people see it.
Ultimately, it's not a black and white issue. I think we can all agree it comes to implementation as well. I mean, if it's implemented well, we can say the resets for dungeons. And actually, one guy, FG3000 chat, made a really good point. I've seen this point emphasized before too. It's worth sharing that sometimes having a stamina system has people look forward to min-maxing. They want to exhaust all their stamina before they log off for the day, right? It gives them a goal to work towards. So there are still healthy positives to having it. So those players can benefit a lot from it. It just, if I want to no life something, I wanted to goddamn no life it. All right, that's my only personal beef with the implementation in some games.
This has been like I think one of the most involved chats we had because I'm watching the chat still, and people are bringing up really good points. Someone mentioned there's another really good reason for it, and that is to ration content. Game developers cannot make new content fast enough, right? To keep people like you happy. You're gonna play a game, 18 hours a day for a month, and you can say, "Where's the end game?" As soon as it comes out.
Yes.
So if they can drip this stuff to you, where they always keep you excited, and again, as a medium, they can't do too slow, too fast. They can actually keep adding content and keep you longer. So I really think from a lot of angles, it benefits the developer and it benefits players.
But it's a perception problem. You have to implement it well. And actually, there's a really good case study almost for World of Warcraft, which I bet most of you guys didn't know this, all right? In World of Warcraft beta, right, before the game launched, they had a fatigue system. Did you know that?
I did not.
Where you would get only 25% of experience on content you killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your character was fatigued after playing the game for a long time, the game would penalize you by saying you only get like 20% of experience on monsters grinded. And do you know what happened? Players bitch like no tomorrow on the forums.
Okay.
Who is Blizzard to tell me how much I can play this game? I want to no life it, right? And Blizzard realized, holy shit, like we're getting all this backlash for this system that we thought was pretty good. So what they did was, they really didn't change anything. They really just changed the perception. They got rid of fatigue, right? And they made a normal experience and rested experience. And now normal experience was basically the fatigued experience, right? And rest experience was like the normal bonus experience. So they changed perception to rewarding you for playing like less. And just, if you play too much, you lose that fatigue. You lose your rest experience. And what you're getting now is basically the fatigue system. And that's the reason why some of the pacing was really slow in Vanilla WoW. Was that at least during the beta periods, and they've tested like well rested, semi fatigued, fully fatigued, and they came up with the current system where ultimately perception is what drives the reactions for people. And anytime you hard cut off people, it's gonna be hard to kind of sell that as like a good perception, unless it's with some elements of the content. It's only when you really cut off players from like doing any of the dungeons or any of the content is when I think players get really pissed off.
That's a really good point, and it kind of proves my point where you guys did not even consider the dungeon resets as a gate. Because it was done in a way that I guess it missed you, So that's my point. There's good ways to do it. There's wrong ways to do it. It's kind of like reminds me of the story of inflation. The whole point of inflation originally, monetary inflation, was so workers.
Economics, boys.
Workers don't know they're getting ripped off. So imagine you make $10 an hour every year, and all of a sudden your employer wants to cut it down to $8 an hour after you've been working for 10 years. You're not going to take it. You're gonna revolt. You're gonna shoot somebody. Instead, what they do is they print more money. So your $10 is only worth $8. But you don't know that because you're still getting $10. So it tricks you there.
Getting economical on us.
No, that's good. That's what I like to hear.
So the same thing with experience. Instead 100% is the new 25%, but you think it's 100% because the number is big.
But I just hate when companies when it's presented in a way that they gate you, they just stop you in your face. I mean, I think a better solution to this problem is to just reinforce make it so. Instead of getting fatigued and you can't play anymore, get 50%, all right? Get half. That way, it's not a hard gate, and the people that want to no-life it, they still have that option. It's when you hard gate it, I think players get really pissed off. And that just seems like bad design. And I do think this is not a black and white issue. I think there are many positives to it. You can look forward to certain elements. You can kind of have yourself mini goals during the day. It's the hard gating of content which pisses people off, or progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Blizzard is the king though at this. The whole daily quest system in games like Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, it really makes me feel like, okay, I gotta play today's session of Hearthstone, right? Where I just do my quest, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Even though I'm not really done, I can keep grinding, right? But I feel
WoW has
like
that too.
Yeah, WoW has WoW started it with the.
Wait, was WoW the first MMO that had dailies?
I have the exact opposite experience with that. See, when I have dailies like that, I tend to log into a game, only do the dailies, quit, and just kind of stop doing it after about a week.
But do you think
it's repetitive?
But would you even look at that game in the first place after if it wasn't for the dailies, would you be playing more? Maybe I wouldn't.
No, I mean it's just like it's not like something I even think about. Like it's not that it's boring. It's not that they're getting repetitive. I just stop playing. I just don't log in.
I know mentioned a good point. Hard gate plus being able to bypass the hard gate with a cash up is what pisses me off. So there's a perception there of fairness, right? And the thing with the WoW content too is, if imagine you could just pay to get the insta resets for your guild, right? People would view that as like they wouldn't take that, you know? Like I think it would hurt the player base if they did that, right? So it's always a fine tuning between monetization, balance, and perception of fairness.
Yep.
So if they can just change it from a punishing system to like a rewarding system, where you can still play, and if you also, I think this conversation got really heated during our Friday Grindfest because you took the position of go play something else. Like that's as if developers were incentivizing players to like just deal with it and go play something else. I don't think
there's an argument to be made there too. I think Blizzard, and again, is a great example of this. They want you to launch Hearthstone. Do your little quest, close it. Launch here at the Storm, do your little quest, close it. WoW, do your little quest, close it. So there is a catalog to get through.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. I want to know life a game, and ain't nobody gonna tell me otherwise. All right. If they tell me otherwise, those are the kind of games I'm typically gonna avoid. But I don't think too many games are. It's an issue in mobile games too, which is why a lot of mobile games I would never consider playing. Right. Even when I first installed like early mobile like Candy Crush, right? Everyone's talking about popular Candy Crush. I downloaded it. I'm like, hey, it's not a bad game, right? It's just match 3 bullshit, right? And the moment you can only play like so many games a day, it's like, why would I ever commit to this? Like, I'd be the kind of guy that would love to like just grind through and get to like difficult levels, but I don't want to play because it restricts how much you can play. Like that turned me off right away. But that could be a me issue.
Well, I think we had a lot of great points made in this weekly raid. If you guys want to let us know what you think personally, or make your comments in Twitch chat Eternal, you could head to the weekly raid URL, and we will certainly recap them if we get enough for next week.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now it's time to move on to some of the controversial news we had this week. I guess it's all pretty interesting stuff we've got to go on. And I want to start with my favorite story from this past week. It involves Closers Online. This past week, we reported that a private server was going to bring Closers to the West, fully translated into English. And I think the next day, we actually got contacted by Naddic Games, who told us that they are also going to be bringing Closers to the West, but they are seeking a publisher. And I thought that was hilarious because I figured that they saw private servers coming out and they said, oh, shit, now we got to do this. But it was pretty interesting. I know, Remo, I think you got the email from them.
Yep. Basically, everyone was excited to play Code Closers, right? And I think there was a lot of people interested in playing Closers for a long time. They were kind of petitioning the company to like, what's your status on NA? Like, are you guys gonna make an NA server? And they basically didn't say shit forever, right? For years. I mean, even Soulworker was like, I think Soulworker was announced before then. Even like, it's a newer game, and Soulworker got an announced NA release before our Closers, even though it didn't launch yet. But now all of a sudden, now that Code Closers launched, and it's a private server that's available for the game today. You can play English Closers right now on Code Closers, and that was announced, and they're going crazy. Like they actually emailed us saying, take down your news about the private server, take it down. We don't want you to talk about it. But obviously, we're not going to take it down. Okay, they asked us to take it down. Like it's copyright infringement, blah blah blah. Obviously, we're not doing anything wrong reporting on it. If you want to go after the private server, that's a thing. Go after them. Don't go after us. So we didn't take down the post.
By them saying that, it makes us want to Barbra Streisand it, which is where when you say let's take it down, you just make it more popular. So now everybody knows about the private server because they went around talking about it. They kind of shot themselves in the foot there.
More importantly than who's running this, whether it's private, public. So you played Closers. I'm watching your first look here. Yeah. And I remember, this kind of reminds me of a game we actually did for Sunday Funday, right? Or Grindfest, one of those. It was...
Hero Wars?
Japanese game. Soul Worker. This looks like, okay. So it's got the whole like mission, but this one seems more 2D with a 3D background.
It's one of those games that's, you have the hub-based persistent areas and all the dungeons are like instanced. It's like, I think a better way to look is L Sword Online meets maybe DFO meets basically Vindictus, those style games. It follows that same exact formula that Soul Worker, RPL, all these games do. It has a really cool anime aesthetic, and I'm glad the private server is out. I know like some people like, oh, you got to support the official guys. I mean, ultimately, I think the private server is good for the player base. I mean, you can play the game right away in English, but I don't know. It didn't do it for me. Like it was when I played Soul Worker, like from the get-go, I was like, wow, it's a visually impressive, nice, fun, paced game. But it just felt kind of janky for me on the Korean version. And it does have a player base in Korea, but it wasn't giant. Like I got to the persistent areas. I really didn't see too many people. So I don't know it didn't do it for me right away. So I don't know if this game is gonna do well, even if it gets an official publisher. And there's no word on official publisher yet. All they said was they were in negotiations with an NA/EU publisher. So whether they actually are or not is a different question. They could have just said that to kind of guilt us into taking it down. The article like, oh, they're working on it, we should take it down. But I don't know if this game will do well. I mean, as is, you can already play on Code Closure, so God bless, go play on there if you want to play.
Cool.
Wasn't my cup of tea though. It just didn't feel as good as it didn't feel as good as RPL either. RPL I had a lot of fun with on the Korean server. Soul Worker, got the same anime aesthetic, but this is more like side scrolly too. I don't know. How do you guys feel about these style games in general? I mean, this is like a massive genre.
It's not for me either. I'm not. I mean, again, it's just a matter of taste, I think.
Mhm.
But I'm not really into this kind of 2D format with the faux 3D thing
Mhm.
going on here. Except for Dungeon Fighter Online, but that was more about the art, I think.
Yeah, it's because we grew up with those old school arcade games.
And those pixel graphics. I'm a Metal Slug kid for life.
I'm surprised.
I don't,
Go ahead.
Right.
I don't end up sticking with these for. I
Yeah,
have
there's
fun when I
something
play
about
them,
them.
I just stick with them.
That's true. There's something about them that, like, I don't know. It's a personal thing, obviously, but some people are really against the instance gameplay. They feel like it's not a true MMO if you don't have like the persistent world. I mean, I think it's still an MMORPG. There's no doubt about it. They even call it an MMORPG, but some of them have just done better than others, I think. And Dragonica was like one of the first ones I played. Actually, Dragonica was like hella fun back in the day. It was through Acclaim. But yeah, I mean, do you think they're gonna go after Code Closers? I mean, they emailed us saying like it's a copyright illegal private server, blah blah blah. I feel like they
Sure,
wouldn't
they already
contact
have.
us if they were already
No,
trying to shut them down.
They're not going to shut them down. They're going to hope the publisher, the American publisher, will shut them down because the American publisher has an interest in getting these players, and they also have more familiarity with American law. They have American office, so there's a better chance of the publisher, whoever it might be in the future, going.
You guys want
after.
to gamble?
Ooh.
Who's going to publish this?
Oh,
Because remember, Naddic Games doesn't have a publisher for this yet. They said that they're looking for one. So who's going to take up the offer?
Area Games. That's my bet.
Oh, so it's never coming out.
No, it's Area because they said
Actually-
NA/European, right? They
Okay.
said,
If it's Area, this will come out
My.com.
before Bless.
My.com.
My.com.
Interesting.
That's a good
Oh.
guess.
My.com is a good guess because My.com has actually been expanding into MMOs. They've picked up games like Warface that's being shut down by the developer. They're taking over the service. They're launching new games. So My.com has been aggressively expanding in the West. So another guy said My.com too in the chat.
Okay, the publisher in Korea is Nexon, right?
Yes, they're not the developer though. Naddic is the developer.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just say Nexon, even though that's probably not the case.
Well, Nexon's not a bad guess either.
I don't know. Nexon likes to say what they're going to publish in those little PowerPoint presentations they put out. So I would
That's
say
true.
I would say it's not on the table for Nexon.
I think a close second would be KOG game.
Play who?
KOG games.
Oh, the guys that make it, the Elsewhere people, right?
Yep.
I could see that too.
Because they did just temporarily close Hero Wars, so I guess maybe they want another side-scrolling game. Fill that void.
That boy.
All good
Wait, I mean-
guesses. We will see if it even gets a publisher.
Do you guys think the developer has a good point to shut this down? I think the private store is ultimately like a net positive for players. I mean, I can understand their perspective, like from a business side, they want to make money on it. But like, come on, guys, you had so long to bring this game here. Like, this is not a legal argument. This is like almost like at this point, I don't even feel bad for the publisher or the developer rather. Like, you had so much time to bring this game. You don't give a shit about the Western market. Let's be real. If you gave any shits about the Western market, you would have announced a Western release like years ago. It's like it's too late to give a shit now to have like a moral high ground. Like, it just seems almost insulting for them to get mad at the private servers now. Like a passionate team that wanted to bring this game to the West, brought it to the West like through their own terms. Like, I'm not saying they have any legal claim to it, but you lost the moral high ground to like bitch and moan about this. Personal opinion.
No, I agree. The market fills in the void. So
Yeah.
I think they saw it. My own guess, and then I guess we should move on. Is they saw this private server like, holy shit, people are actually interested in this game. We should bring it to the West, and then they got all pissy. And I think if it wasn't for the private server, they never would have bothered. But this isn't the only interesting news this week. I think we have something to speculate about, and that is that if you don't know, John Smedley, who formerly was with Pixel Mage Games developing Hero Song, which shut down not too long ago. It wasn't able to meet its development goals. Joined Amazon Game Studios, and not only did he join, but it seems that the entire team at Pixel Mage joined with him.
It's not the entire team. Most of them.
Yeah.
Most of them, yeah. Well, did I not say almost the entire team? I think I was close,
No.
but all right, well, fair enough. Little asterisk. Almost the entire team joined him. So I guess some initial speculation suggests that is it possible Hero Song will return, except developed with the Amazon Lumberyard engine? I mean, what is Amazon going to do with old Smed here and his team?
Ooh.
I think there's zero chance of it, basically, because, and the reason I say that is because Hero Song doesn't work for what Amazon is going for right now. Amazon really wants games that integrate hard with Twitch right now. I mean, every one of their games, even the MMORPG New World, integrates with Twitch really hard. So they'd have to completely redesign Hero Song from the ground up, and it wouldn't even be Hero Song by the time it's done. You know what I mean? It's so I think there's zero chance, and I also don't think that with their new gaming business, there's no reason that Amazon would want a failure like Hero Song. I mean, looking at it objectively, they spent $2.8 million or more on this game, potentially. I mean, they did refunds, so we don't know exactly how much they did, but they potentially spent like $2.8 million or more on a game that barely was a game. I mean, it was a tech demo at best in the state it was in, and they spent $2.8 million on it, and that didn't even go to art. Like, the art was clearly not a priority when it came to the budget. So,
whoa, this art is amazing. 1990.
The whole thing stinks to me, and I don't trust Smedley after this because he was in charge of this, and just looking at what happened, I don't know where the money went, and that scares me. In terms of like the new project, so you know what I mean.
All right, I'm gonna call a conspiracy theory here. All right, I think there's a real good case for conspiracy theory. Maybe during the development of Hero Song, before it shut down, even I think Amazon approached Smedley saying like, "Hey, you're in this area. We want to, we want you to make a game for us." And during Hero, like maybe after he raised the Kickstarter money and like sometime in early access, he already got approached. And he's like, oh, shit, I got this Amazon offer. Fuck Hero Song. I'm going to go do this Amazon shit. Oh, God, we got to close Hero Song. How do I let them down nicely? Oh, he probably had some investor money lined up because, look, Smedley's a connected guy, right? I think he'd have kept Hero Song going just from his experience at Sony Entertainment. He ran Daybreak. This is a guy who's been in the industry for a while. He could have raised additional money from investors. I mean, he's probably personally very wealthy, too. I don't know his situation, right? For him to kind of abandon the game this quickly, I think he got approached by Amazon, and he's like, okay, fuck Hero Song. I'm going to go over there. Obviously, all speculation on my part, but that's my guess. Because how quickly after Hero Song shut down, boom, offer for Amazon, boom, almost everybody that worked on Hero Song is already working for Amazon now.
Yeah, no, with that many people, this had to have been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of transfer doesn't happen overnight.
I'm gonna defend the move a little here. One, this guy obviously is passionate about MMORPGs, right? He's been in business forever.
Yes.
Maybe he's not good at the shall we call budgeting / financial aspect of it, like the project management. Hero Song, I don't think it's the game they wanted to make. It's the game they could make. This the scale of it, right? Whereas now, as they were approached by Amazon, I do think you're right. They were approached by Amazon before we heard about the shutdown, and they said Amazon basically Bezos came in the room and said, "Listen, buddy, I'm gonna give you unlimited resources. You make the MMORPG of your dreams, baby."
Yes.
And he said, how could and I don't, he can't refuse that deal, and we as gamers should be happy with that deal. So rather than getting this tiny proof of indie concept, roguelike RPG, this guy's gonna he's a hunkered down and spend years making, unlimited budget, his grand vision of a game for Amazon.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And why not? I don't think that's a big deal. I don't feel like a big loss with Hero Song. It might have been a cool little, roguelike for like 10 minutes a day.
It was a little like sketchy still to like, I don't know, you telling everybody in your Kickstarter video like, this is my passion project, I want to make this game, and all of a sudden, boom, money changes everything.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to counter Airhorn on that. It's definitely the game they wanted to make, and I say that because they got $2.8 million and no strings attached.
Peanuts. 2 million?
Yeah.
Come on. Smedley can eat more tacos than that. He's a big guy.
All right. I mean, I don't know. There's something about it too. And also, here's another thing. I don't think Hero Song ran into financial issues the way. I mean, look, I don't think the game didn't sell well, right? But they knew that going through early access and what the game was at that point. I mean, the fact that they gave everybody refunds on Kickstarter, they gave Indiegogo refunds, right? People that crowdfunded the games. People who are in financial trouble for their games literally cannot afford to give refunds. This was not, we ran into problems, the game didn't sell well issue. This was a, I got a better offer, later nerds, I'm going to go work for Amazon. But again, I don't blame him for this either. I think we get a great
hold up. To his credit,
Amazon
though,
offered him unlimited resources.
but
He had to do it.
look, to his credit, the people below him, right, that were like, he was their boss. He brought as many of them on as he probably could, right?
Yes, he did them.
So that's a good move. It's not like
commendable move.
It's not like he said, screw you guys, I'm going to Amazon.
He only screwed up the people that were passionate about Hero Song. But again, how much did he actually owe them? I mean, he said he was going to make this game. I don't blame him for what he did at all. I don't blame him for what he did.
Look, Smedley worked on SOE. It was with SOE.
Yes.
All right. He worked. He ran EverQuest. He ran Vanguard. He ran all their big scale MMORPGs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't go from running EverQuest in 1999 when it was like top of the line, all these top of the line.
It was a Warcraft at the time. Yeah.
You don't go from that to Hero Song and tell me it's your passion project, please. I mean, the pixel art's cute, right? But this is not like your grand vision game here. It's pretty obvious to me.
No, it could. Why are you the 2D guy? Look,
I am the 2D
actual
guy.
Vision of Hero Song was actually quite incredible. Imagine Terraria meets MMORPG, right? That could be amazing. Obviously, I think the scale was off because they had servers and it wasn't like one persistent world. But the concept of like a Terraria-like game with hardcore MMORPG elements was actually really cool, and they could have expanded a lot. Like, there was a lot of potential here for it to be a big deal because Terraria was a big deal. Yeah. These style games of like sandbox crafting and stuff are awesome and growing. So, I just think he got approached with better budgets, unlimited financial resource, and he took it. I don't want to say he's the bad guy. He's the logical guy. We all would have done the same thing if Amazon threw money at us, millions of dollars at us. We're gonna take the deal. And God bless his heart for taking his employees with him. All right, and a lot of those guys were rehired, and they probably didn't have to be. But he felt like he didn't want to betray his original team, so I guess he brought them on. So at least he did good over there.
I want to see what he comes up with at Amazon. Now the financing part is he doesn't have to deal with that anymore. He can just make the game he wants now, which is interesting.
All right,
That's a good point.
I want a verdict. Is he a scumbag or a good guy?
He refunded his early backers. I think I don't think he's a scumbag. No.
All right.
I don't think he's a scumbag, but I think the entire thing is a little.
Yes,
shady.
I agree with you, Matt. It's a little shady. It's a little sketch.
I think maybe they could have made the announcement earlier when it was announced instead of because I mean I guess what people maybe this is what you guys kind of offended at and tell me if I'm wrong is that the way it was handled was like, oh, surprise, whereas they obviously knew. I mean, a little more transparency.
Not just that, but like Omer was saying, like the fact that they gave refunds to literally everyone means they weren't in financial trouble. But they explicitly said that they were having financial trouble.
That was bullshit. That was their excuse. That was their excuse. There's no way. You can't give refunds to everyone. When you have financial issues, you're literally up to your eyeballs in debt. That's what financial issues mean. It means you've already maxed out your credit lines. You've there's no money in the bank. You're already in debt. You can't give refunds at that point.
Balcony door is open. You're standing on the ledge.
That's when when you're on the edge of your balcony, maxed out to your Hilton credit cards, you can't give refunds. And by the way, you're not legally obligated to give refunds to any of those Indiegogo backers or anyone that even pre-ordered your game. Your LLC is allowed to file bankruptcy and say screw you to all your customers. That's like legally allowed. So he just did that because he already had the money. That was a non-issue for him. Which is why I agree with Matt. It's sketchy, but he's not. I'm saying he's not a scumbag because he did the logical thing that I think we would all do. Unless we're all secretly scumbags, I don't think I can call him a scumbag.
Do you guys now agree with me that Amazon will buy Crytek?
No.
No.
Not necessarily. Why?
I'm not even close to that yet.
Why wouldn't Amazon just let the competition sink?
Crytek? No, that's the thing that they license their engine for Lumberyard.
No, but isn't Lumberyard now their own? They don't pay a license or anything, do they?
They paid a huge upfront sum to license it for X years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I could see it. I think it's a possibility.
It's not their competition. It's literally their partner.
I see.
But I mean, my conspiracy theory now is that Smedley's not going to be making just any. His team is going to be the core game on our team. That's New World. That's my.
That's possible.
Yeah, I think so. He's the more guy. So that makes sense.
I guess we'll see. I'm very curious. I'm actually very excited to see anything that comes out of Amazon. I know you guys had played the one game already in a pretty rough state, but I'm wondering just how big of a splash Amazon will make overall. And we'll find out soon enough.
I wouldn't call it a rough state. It had like 2 or 3 core issues.
Oh, okay. I thought it was rougher than that. I missed it, so I'm just paraphrasing here. But I wanted to move on to another interesting piece of news. Unless somebody else wants to take it somewhere else.
I want to seize it. I want to seize this for a moment.
Seize the moment. Seize
I was
the day.
playing. I was streaming Bless actually the other day, and I want to talk a little about Bless because we've already done a few Grindfest Friday videos for, and I think it's a game a lot of people are still kind of excited about. I do think it's a really fun game, and I want to talk about my experience. And we can talk about the current state of the Korean version. I was streaming it, and the one issue kept nagging me so much, and it's optimization issues, and it kind of like makes me realize like all these high-end graphics and these ambitious design stuff with like seamless worlds, like all of that doesn't matter if you can't figure out the optimization. It's a complete like waste. Like I played the game for an hour, and after an hour I was playing at sub 20 FPS on a top tier machine. You can't have an MMORPG playing at sub 20 FPS. Like how do you launch a game? How do you spend $60 million on a game and have it launch in its current state of unplayableness? It's open beta right now in South Korea and Russia, and it's not just me. My brother had issues. Matt said his ran pretty well, so it is an optimization issue. It runs well on some PCs, but not every setup. And with the preface, it's a $61 million game. NeoWiz Games has spent over $60 million making Bless, and I just don't see how like an executive took the game, launched it, and just realized, why is this laggy? Developer, why is this laggy? Can you fix it before you launch? No problem, boss. And they launch it, and it's still laggy. Like, how does that happen?
I don't know how it happens, and I do know why it happens. This game, it looks pretty. They spent a lot of money on it, but it's using pretty outdated technology. I noticed up top, DirectX 9 was the best it supported. You couldn't really use 10 or we're on 12 now. 12 is going to come out. It came out this last year, and games will start using it this year. So this game is dated, and it's one of the problems with this genre. If you MMORPGs cannot be cutting edge because the development cycle is so long. So the technology you start with, right, will be outdated by the time the game comes out. So you can't push things too far, graphic wise, or else you're gonna run into the problem that Bless ran into now, where this game, DirectX 9 came out with Windows XP.
That's nuts. That's so old. Wait,
Yeah.
the development cycle didn't begin at Windows XP. Come on.
You don't know. I mean, look at some of these games.
Well, Unreal Engine 3, no, okay, so DirectX 9 was the standard for ages. Even through the DirectX 10 era, DirectX 9 was still the standard. So, I mean, it has nothing to do with whether or not it started in the Windows XP era. It went straight through the DirectX 10 era, and DirectX 11 barely got picked up. Like, there were, like, the cutting edge games had DirectX 11 modes, but as a whole, DirectX 11 was not made the standard. And now, even with DirectX 12, you have Windows 10 games, because DirectX 12 is Windows 10 exclusive right now. You have Windows 10 games that use it, but even some of them have DirectX 9 mode. DirectX 9 is still the standard.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, it's still the standard.
That's true.
And that's fair.
But yeah, I think Final Fantasy 14 allows you to switch between
DirectX 11 mode. There's a mode for DirectX 11, and it actually looks gorgeous. Like if you turned it off and on, like it is a big difference. But my point is, like, yeah, you can have. I don't think DX9 necessarily is the issue, but obviously, long development cycles affect technology, right? There's a lot of DX9 games that just work, right? That run at 60 FPS and they just function. How can you have a $60 million budget game and just have it run like shit? Like I'm having a blast with the game. It blows my mind, and it really angers me while I play a game when I'm stuttering at 20 FPS.
This is really simple. There are a lot of really complex effects that push this engine to its limit. Somewhere in there's probably a memory leak in one of those effects. And so as you play it over time, you use the effect once, use it twice, use it 3 times. Eventually, it just builds up and causes a frame rate drop over time. Sorry, I just kind of choked up every now and then. Yeah, but it causes a frame rate drop over time because there's like 1 or 2 effects that just aren't made right. It's not like the entire game has issues. That's not usually how this works. It's usually like 1 or 2 things that cause the memory.
But in my rant, okay, I'm saying it starts at 40 FPS when I launch the game fresh, and it falls to, like, below 20. I get it, below 20, that's a big memory leak problem, and it's eventually can be fixed, right? But why is it starting at 40? It just started like 80, 90, 140, and then maybe fall a little bit. It starts at 40 on my PC, like 45. And I never get 60 in it because I don't know why. My brother couldn't get it either.
That's weird.
I mean, bless aside too. I think the most important aspect of a lot of these MMORPGs is just playability. I want a game should function out of the box at decent frame rates, and not be like crash resist, like crash prone. Like that's more important than content, combat, story, translations. Just having the game work is like should be at the top of the agenda before a game even goes to close beta. Like have it work and polish everything else afterwards. I think one of the reasons WoW, World of Tanks, DFO, these games don't have high system requirements, and the games just work. You know, you can have the best game in the world, but if you have low FPS optimization issues, it's not going anywhere.
And let's. I have something on my mind. Oh, what was it?
Are we moving topics?
Hold on, before we do, I want to mention this game.
The Korean part.
Yes, this game. It's almost as if all the Korean games or Asian games I like, we like, or you said you like Plus too, actually end up doing poorly. Whereas the ones I don't like Crossfire, Dungeon Fighter, end up doing well. Or League of Angels or whatever, you know? So this game, Blessed, is having some trouble, guys, in Korea. It's been out about a year. It came out January 2016 in open beta. And already, they're being very generous with new player boosts. So for Valentine's, they offered everyone who was level 45 or higher a potion to automatically get them to level 50. Which is a new max level. All new players got basically free top tier gear and other boosts like a flying mount they can use for a while just to speed through the content. And a lot of games do this. WoW did this. MapleStory did this. Every game does this. But the difference is these games do it years after when they have new content. Many new expansions. They want to get people through the old content. But Blast hasn't really been around long enough. About a year. You can't tell me the content's outdated in 1 year. That just means the content was bad to begin with, right?
Well, I mean, it isn't doing well in Korea. It's only doing well in Russia right now. Korea has repeatedly, reported low populations. I couldn't tell you why that is. I mean, partially it could have to do with optimization issues, and I don't know the actual state of the Korean gaming industry right now, but I remember when Terra came out, there was a major thing. Basically every single PC bong, PC cafe in Korea had to upgrade their computers to be able to handle Terra.
Wow.
Now there were a lot of them that had to. Perhaps because you don't have that audience in PC bongs, because if they had to upgrade it for Terra, I can only imagine what they'd have to do for Bless. So without that audience and without the people in that social environment that are together all the time, and it's like, hey, what's that guy playing? It's probably just not getting the word of mouth and just the natural exposure that it needs to get. It's also getting bad press in terms of it doesn't run well and it doesn't run most of these PC bong PCs. So why would people play it? That's the way I see it as somebody who doesn't know enough about the South Korean industry, perhaps.
Actually, somebody brought a good comment in the chat. I think we don't appreciate enough. Think about all your friends that have PCs, right? And a lot of people, a lot of people that are console gamers, and then PCs are usually below average Dells with integrated graphics cards, right? Your game has to run on the average shit tier laptop with integrated graphics card. If it doesn't, I don't think a game can be big with cutting edge, gorgeous graphics, unless it's a console game. Because console games, if you buy a PS4 game, it's going to work on your PS4. But with PC games, you need to have a game that just runs well on low tier PCs. You need to. If you don't have that, I don't think a game has a chance of being a blockbuster unless you have a PC game has a blockbuster chance unless they can run on low end PCs. People in chat are saying, "Oh, my guildies have all low end PCs. I can't play games with them." Somebody said, "I can't play any game past 2010 because I have a below average PC," and that's unfortunate. I think that really hurts the industry a lot, the gaming industry. People don't have the hardware to play it, so stop making cutting edge games maybe. And I don't want to be the guy that says graphics don't matter. I think good graphics helps, but you don't need cutting edge, gorgeous, maximum render distance graphics to have a good game.
I think the onus falls on Intel and Microsoft. They
Onos, natural selection too.
That's what I'm thinking too when he said Onos.
these are big companies, and I think they're going to start shrinking their market share if they can't fix this. Intel especially has to stop making such garbage integrated GPUs, which they have. If you guys notice in the past few years, the Intel onboard graphics are much better than they used to be in the past. So you can with just a CPU today, you can play games like League or whatever, or even Overwatch. The new i7s, even the mini ones, they can play Overwatch fine, which is something that wouldn't happen in like 5 years ago, 6 years ago when I started gaming. You needed a discrete GPU to play almost anything new.
They're finally getting around to fixing that issue then. So that's definitely maybe it's going to look better in the future right now, because I think that's always been a big thing holding back PC gaming. The lack of standards and average people are gaming on laptops which are Duke tier. But at least those Duke tier laptops will have better integrated cards now.
Yep.
And also, I just wanted to point out that you can tell that Bless is pushing this engine to the limits, because when you look at the outline, that little blue outline that shows up around your target, or red outline, it's pixelated. It is straight up pixelated. So you can tell that the engine is being pushed to its limits by the fact that they needed to downscale that to a pixelated format.
I mean, it also comes out don't push the engine so far. I mean, have less impressive visuals, scale back the ambition, and just make something that works. I mean, everyone wants to have that. The designers and the people that work there want to create something amazing, right? And when they play Bless on their high-end, god-tier development builds at their office, the game is amazing. But the average person doesn't have that setup, and they can't enjoy. That's the biggest drawback. You have to design the game for the average PC. And developers just want to make something amazing. And I think they did create something amazing technologically, and it looks good. I mean, just running around the world of Bless on my stream, it felt amazing. Holy shit, I can see the capital city from a mile away. I took a couple of screenshots. It looks amazing. But too bad people can't play it, so rest in pepperoni, Bless.
To give a little more
Maybe
context,
they'll fix it for area.
To give a little more context on how the game is doing, they had 2 rounds of server mergers already in the 1 year they've been out, and they're down to 2 servers in Korea.
And that's after they merged 1 or 2 into 1 and then open another one.
Yes.
But I wanted to take a detour from the serious stuff real quick and talk about what we played for a second before we forget this. So I've been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online the past week or so, and casually before that. But in the past week or so, I've been playing it a lot. And the other day, Shadows of the Hist, I think, is the DLC. So we were going through dungeons, and we were doing a lot of the very simple dungeons, like the early on ones, and they were kind of interesting, but I mean, they were mostly easy, and we kind of rolled through all of them. And I was playing with Zaz from the Discord, and I don't know if you guys remember Pakioki from we played Overwatch, but we've been playing with them. So me, Cat, and those two. But anyways, we went through the first Shadows of the Hist dungeon, and we're going through this, and it's really difficult at first. The mobs hit really hard, and we're all around level 20. Zaz was level 7 at the time. And so we're getting hit really hard. We're making it through slowly, pushing all really slowly through this dungeon, one group at a time. We got wrecked by a few groups. We get through a few bosses. Some of the bosses were simple, but at the same time, really hit hard. So I had to heal them crazy because I'm playing the healer in there, and I had to use 4 different healing spells to keep them alive. We get to this third boss, which is this giant, is he a lizard? He's a lizard guy who's a slaver. And we're getting our asses handed to us over and over. And we're sitting there and trying to come up with some kind of strategy. And the guy on his own isn't too bad, but there's this mechanic where there's an AoE, and the AoE spawns mobs. And they're mud crabs that are really tanky. So you have to run through the AoE and then run it to this water thing. So somebody is slowed down by a debuff throughout that period, and they have to run all the way to the water. And during that time, they might take a lot of damage. And then there's other mobs coming in from there's an arena kind of thing, and people are watching, and they'll jump down. And we had to take those out at the same time. And it's just crazy. And eventually we get through this, right? And we're all feeling great about it. It's maybe this is the end of it. Then we go through another thing, and there's another boss at the end. And we literally were on this boss for 3 or 4 hours. I'm not even kidding.
God.
This boss has things like I've never seen stuff like this in any game ever. Like there's this secondary dimension thing, and when you get sent into it, there are statues around the arena, and one of them will light up in the real world, and one of your fellow players has to mark that for you, and
That's
then
so
you have to
cool.
go over there and destroy it with this crappy like little attack thing and hit it like 6 times and hope at the same time that there's not like a totem up, because there are these totems that drain your health and they'll kill your friends in like literally seconds. So if I wasn't up as the healer, everyone would die. Like if I was the one that was in there during the time that there was a totem, it was terrible. And if like Pocky was playing the tank, if he got stuck in there, the boss would aggro somebody else and everyone would die. It was the craziest shit. So we get through like 3 different rotations for this boss, and we get to the end and it just starts doing this like vine thing, and these mobs come out of nowhere and they run through this fire thing and you get a damage buff, and there's just so much shit going on all at once. We never finished it. Like we couldn't out heal the damage that everything was doing. It was the craziest fucking shit. I don't even know like how I was supposed to do that below level 50 or so. I mean, we just didn't have the skills, I don't think.
So you,
I was running out of mana.
You mentioned one of the teammates was level 7 while you guys were 20. So explain how that works in ESO, because they have a pretty cool feature for that.
Well, in ESO, they set, based on everyone's level, they'll set it to a certain champion level. And everyone will be scaled up to that champion level in terms of power, but you still won't have the skills.
Yeah.
And as long as you have to keep up with your gear regardless of what level you're at, because it'll scale you based on an expected gear level. So if you don't keep up with your gear, you're still going to be underpowered, regardless of what level you are. So, I mean, it's pretty cool because it lets us do it, all of us at once, in that dungeon, even though it originally was designed to be like a level 50 end game thing, but we could still do it whenever we wanted. It's just that fucking end boss was so hard. And I also wanted to mention, ESO has some great boss mechanics, like some things that I would have never even thought would be things. There's this one boss in this other dungeon. It's not nearly as hard, but what it'll do is it like casts a beam thing between 2 players, and the players have to run in opposite directions and break the beam or they'll die in seconds. And then they have this other thing where the boss will spawn 4 shadows of itself and chain the person up by all their limbs on the ground, and this like spirit sword will slowly move towards their face, and everyone in the group has to focus on one of the spirit things and kill one of those spirit things, or else they'll die instantly as soon as the sword comes down on their face.
I think it's worth emphasizing. I think we do say a lot that like combat mechanics and MMORPGs aren't everything, but I think we can all appreciate good boss fights. Like boss fights with good mechanics are some of the most rewarding and fun experiences in MMORPGs, I think. Whether it's, ESO, FF14, WoW, like overcoming a challenge, especially when you don't look up the how-to guide on how to beat it perfectly. Like if you don't do that, and discovering it on your own is some of the most satisfying like pieces of an MMORPG, I think. And ESO clearly proves that with your experience with the Shadows of the Hiss dungeon.
Yeah, and then I want to mention this other dungeon boss, one last one. So there's this boss that's a spider queen, and she has like this laser that comes down and it'll like move around and slowly get bigger, and then it'll explode, and that does a lot of damage. But it also has this other thing where there's like a cave in the background, and it'll pull one of your players in based on where they are. So if they're really close to it, it'll pull someone in. And at first we thought, okay, let's send the tank in there, right? Send Pocky in there because, he's the tank, he can handle all this. Because in that area, you have to kill a bunch of spiders. And you have to kill them either really fast so you'll get back out to your people, or after we had started sending Cat in, we found out it was actually better if you leave someone in there and have them do it slowly, because then over time, that person will keep someone else from getting sucked in. So, I mean, it took a lot of thought to try and like get through some of these boss fights, because that entire dungeon was about like isolating players away from you and killing them off one by one. And it's just having to outthink the way that we're isolated and who should be isolated, and it's something that I haven't really experienced in any other MMO.
Cool. And boss fights are some of the most rewarding experience in MMOs, I think.
I know we brought it up last week too, I think, but Morrowind, I mean, Elder Scrolls is getting a new big expansion soon.
Massive, yeah.
In the way of Morrowind here. And because of the level system, which allowed Matt to play with people vastly different levels than him, they say you can actually start this expansion at level 1. So this can be, if you haven't played the Elder Scrolls yet, maybe this is the best time to start when this comes out. When this expansion comes out, you can start in Morrowind, level 1. If you played, the previous game, number 3, I'm sure there's a lot of fan service thrown in there and nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a good time to get started if have been thinking about the game.
All right. While we're talking about what we played, I wanted to sneak in one small fun discussion about 300 Heroes. All right, I know it's a Duker Chinese copyright infringing game, but there's one element of the game which I think you guys will all agree with me is fucking amazing. All right, it's a ripoff of League with heroes and characters from popular anime series, franchises. So one element of the game which I thought was remarkably fascinating. There's a character called Kirito in the game. I mean, it's a Sword Art Online character, and obviously it's stolen from Sword Art Online, but the mechanic for Kirito in 300 Heroes is so that if you're familiar with the anime, I think at the beginning of the anime, he hides his power level and his experience, so he doesn't appear too strong to his fellow friends. So in the actual game, his items are literally hidden. So the enemy team, if you're playing against Kirito, you can't see what items he has. You cannot see what level he is. You can't see what summoner spells he has. You cannot see his creep stats, how many minions he's killed. He's literally a question mark. All his items are question marks. His experience is a question mark. It's all unknown, which is actually such a cool mechanic. It's a MOBA, if you play MOBAs, I think you can recognize that is an amazing mechanic where you just don't know what you're dealing with. And I'm sure they can balance around that too. But it shows that a Chinese game, which literally knocks off so many franchises, ignores copyrights, is like pirate nonsense style game, can have cool mechanics. And I thought that was amazing.
So you're saying is they made Kirito OP?
It's not OP. I don't think it's OP. The game is like no balance, by the way. The game is absurdly imbalanced overall, right? I'm not saying it's a great game because there's balance issues, but I'm saying they have some great mechanics, all right? Even a crappy like League knockoff can have some great mechanics. So God bless China for their knockoff games sometimes.
I actually really like the Attack on Titan girls' mobility.
It's broken. It's just
but
unfairly broken.
it kind of matches the show where the super mobile. maybe she should die one shot, and that could be like the way it balances.
They're not going to balance that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the game is not balanced. I don't want to endorse the game as a balanced, fun game. It's a stupid game where if you want to like have the most nonsensical 7v7 game with like an anime characters that you like and just have mindless fun, check out 300 Heroes. If you're looking for a more serious game with a competitive scene, no, don't check it out. But it's fun. I think we have to have a logical transition to this amazing, this funny comment from Crumbs, a former League pro, and I haven't followed the League scene too much. I haven't played too much League, but I think we talked about in a previous podcast where pro gamers having girlfriends creates a big issue in esports. So he's a former. I don't know if he still plays. He's a former pro gamer, I think, and he made a statement that was somewhat controversial, saying girlfriends are ruining the LCS. The LCS is a championship series that Riot runs. It's kind of like a league for League of Legends, pro scene. And he's saying the girlfriends are ruining it. What do you guys think about that?
Dude, it's kind of cringy.
Of course.
It's cringy. He's a former. He's a salty about something.
He's right.
He's seeing the current people, not the former. He's a former player. He's seeing the current players with like hot girlfriends.
How old is he?
And he's salty.
He's old. He's 26, I think, 27.
Whoa,
forgot.
If 26 is old,
Jesus Christ, it's not old.
I'm ancient.
We're talking about video game pros. If you're 26, 27,
I will say this.
You're old.
If you're a pro player, if you're a pro at anything, right? Typically, the way you maintain being a pro is, no matter what it is you're dedicating your life to it, whether it's music or it's sports, it's games. I mean, typically, I remember back when I first learned about pro sports and I learned that complexity, just sat there playing CS 1.6 all fucking day. I mean, when you're normally at that level, the amount of time you have to dedicate to keep at that level or improve, you really don't have any time for anything else. So let's say you're your first time pro player, you get your first girlfriend. Well, now your attention is divided between two things you, I guess, love. So I can see it hurting some people. It's hard. Look, when you're a kid, you're say 16, 17, you're coming into all this money, all this fame in the scene. It's pretty fucking hard to negotiate that stuff. So I can imagine it can really it can really hurt some people. I'm sure some people have maybe jeopardized their opportunities. Just trying to, because they're kids, they're kids.
But think about it too. Imagine, Gumby, you're a pro player. And Matt, you're a pro player. I mean, most of these people that get to the high tier are usually, pretty socially awkward, like kids that play games all day, right? I mean, to be a pro player, like you don't get very many like high school football players being pro gamers. It happens once in a blue moon, right? But like most of these kids are just the nerds in their school, and they're socially awkward. And like in order to maintain your pro status, like you literally play these games like 10 hours a day, right? And to have a girlfriend thrown in there, kind of distracting you from the game, taking your attention away, and creating you fight with your girlfriend once in a while, it really distracts you from your commitments to the game. I mean, I think it's a logical statement.
I'm going to take the counter argument. This is a dangerous precedent to be saying that, to be encouraging that they don't take on girlfriends or they don't go into the real world, because as soon as their like esports money dries up, which we all know isn't much because people are being taken advantage of all the time, they're fucked. This is a really dangerous thing for them to be doing. Like as soon as their esports career is over, that's going to be it for them. Like, what if they don't end up going to college because of it? What if they don't end up doing this? They're just fucked. I mean, they really need that touch of the real world in any way that they can.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
But hold on, I'm gonna take the other side of that. I mean, I think most esports careers don't last long anyway, and I do agree. Most people don't make a lot of money in esports, even like the people that make it to the LCS, unless you're a personality that like gets countless views on Twitch. You have a big following on Twitter. Like, unless you become like a big personality, the money's not big, right? But you only have a small window to make it anyway, to have a chance to gain that personality. Like it's like a 4 or 5 year career. I don't think it's unfair to say, for those 4 or 5 years, no life this, or just don't do it at all. Because if you go to half-ass it, you're not going to succeed. The people that are half-assing it are just hurting their own chance to succeed.
But what I'm saying is, it's the 4 or 5 years that are crucial to the way that they're going to end up living the rest of their lives.
But this isn't like a 12-year-old kid developing mentally. He's already an adult.
No,
people that are getting into esports are not.
Well, I would say that
they're under 18 usually.
You're a teenager, even young 20s. I mean, you're only just. Yeah, come on. I've met. Maybe you haven't met enough young 20-year-olds.
I met plenty of young 20-year-old retards, but that doesn't mean you have to be that way.
I mean, put it this way. I think that maybe the takeaway from this is that you do need some level of life skills. But then again, does someone who's a fast track to play the MLB? It's not like they're getting well-rounded, But then again, they have a longer time span to enjoy their pro career.
There's actually apparently a lot of other people have commented on this, pro players themselves, team owners and stuff. One guy actually ended up saying, I've long heard a saying that every team is one girlfriend away from disaster. So imagine, think about it. Though. Imagine like you're playing on the best team in league, TSM obviously. No, but imagine playing on a pro team, and like your best player, right? Your top tier player has a fight with his girlfriend, right? It doesn't at that moment, like there goes your game, like. It throws off your practice schedule. It throws off your concentration.
Okay,
yeah,
but
you have some, but they're not good enough.
You can say the same of any pro sport, though, and yet pro sports players in like the MLB, NFL, NBA, they all manage to have real lives with like wives, kids, everything. I mean, they don't give up on that just because they're pros. And it's
you're right.
Like I said, it's a dangerous precedent to be saying that esports players should be.
No one's gonna follow this guy's advice. Number one, that's for sure.
I'm with Matt. These autistic kids, right? Basically, the team owners and the community, the developer, basically want to put them in a box for 5 years. But they basically
want to make them K-pop stars.
They basically want to make them mascots for the game, basically, right? Wave the pom poms. Yeah. And you're saying the one touch of humanity that they could possibly get in this entire time, a girlfriend or something, a friend or whatever, outside the scene, right? Outside, you're telling me that's the poison. No. Put him in a box for 18 hours a day. That's the poison.
I agree with what you're saying. But this brings up a small side thing. I just want to throw this out there. We don't have to discuss it too much. But like a lot of these like socially awkward guys that like become pro players, they attract so many like girls that like throw themselves at them purely for the fame. And do you really want those people around your athletes? If you're a team owner, you want them to stay
that way.
Yeah,
people always use you.
Yeah, how do you lose?
You learn quick.
Yeah, how do you learn without losing? So.
I mean.
People
if I'm a
use
team owner, I understand their position. Yeah, I agree. It's not fair to like box them away from any kind of like outside of reality. And like the only reason I'm saying I'm defending that position to a degree is that your esports career is really a 4 or 5 year thing. I don't know how long the average NFL career is or the basketball career. Maybe those are shorter. I don't know.
Soccer careers. Actually, soccer is probably the most analogous. Most soccer players, you start pretty young, 16, 17, 18, and you're done before you're 30. It's pretty quick.
And
But soccer players also, they normally make out a lot better if they're a top tier player.
I want to bring up something someone mentioned in the chat. This guy Crumbs, he actually brought up a good point. Not and it wasn't just that girlfriends ruin it. It was the whole environment of the pro scene. So a big thing now is gaming houses, right? Where like the whole team lives together with the manager and whatever. And he's saying that whole that environment kind of isolates the person, right? He's always living with his teammates. He never goes outside. He never does anything besides that. And it kind of they don't establish any kind of work life love balance in their life because of that.
It's unhealthy. I think it's fair to say it's an unhealthy lifestyle. But this is why the Koreans will always win the pro league games. All right, you know why? They're not allowed to have girlfriends. All right, in Korea, you want to play for the best teams? No girlfriends allowed. If you have a girlfriend, you're fired. All right, that's why the Koreans will kick our asses from here to eternity until we change our policy. All right.
I don't even want to know what kind of therapy they're gonna have to go.
Oh, I agree. Matt, you're 100% right. It fucks them up, right? I'm not, there's 100% psychological damage from the people that are forced to live in, not forced, but like they live in these environments where they're shielded from everything but the game all day. Yeah, it mentally screws you up. But if you want to win, you gotta get in that box. Right? If you don't want to win, get out of here.
I also
Faker is best single in Korea. There you go.
I also think as if esports develops the way people think, I'm still skeptical. But if it does, I don't think it's going to be the autistic kids that are still in charge.
Wait, don't call them autistic. Yeah, they're socially weird kids, all right? It's not fair to call them autistic.
Whatever, my point is...
I know what you're saying.
Okay, right now, like the nerd loser guy, right? He plays games because he can't do anything else. But I think in the future, if gaming is more popular, why wouldn't the fit, athletic guy have better reflexes? And then he would just be the pro. Like, that too. Like,
Can I understand your point. I agree with the series of point. And you and Omer here keep bringing up the nerd losers. And I just remind you that we're fucking hosting the MMOs.com podcast. So
we're the cool kids, don't you know?
I got no beef saying, me too. Like, I was better than average, right, in Dota or gaming in my group in my high school. But if the jocks that are good at kicking balls, if they played games as much as me, they'd be better.
No, they would.
No, yeah, they would.
The brain cells lifting heavy metal.
Erhan, I don't think that's a good thing. Like a good comparison there. I think the people that are really going to take over are the people that play piano. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, that's a good
point. Matt, you're right. I think you're right there. Those guys are pretty serious. They're probably higher than average IQ too, and they have the reflexes. They have the dedication. Like playing piano well is a grind, and they have it.
Well, not just that, but like people that play piano really well can pick up guitar and play it better than people that just started playing guitar. I mean, it's crazy how much playing piano increases your skills, like in everything that's related to using your hands all the time.
No, definitely.
I've long held that if I ever had a kid, I'm gonna fucking brainwash them into playing that piano. It's basically like cheat. It's like +2 agility in an old school MMORPG.
It's a perma-stat, being able to play piano. It boosts all their stats. If my kid's not at least gold or higher, I'm abandoning him.
Leave him in a box on a rainy night.
Abandon him somewhere. But I thought it was a fun story, and I'm curious. Maybe one day we'll put up a weekly rate on this. I'm curious what everybody else thinks. Should pro players have girlfriends?
I think that's next week. That one's pretty funny.
I think most people are gonna end up saying they shouldn't. But whatever.
I'm curious how the Korean and Asian teams live. I mean, they also have gaming houses, I assume, right?
Yeah.
But like, what does the inside look like? From what I've seen, and again, I've
videos
like a cage.
No. What I've seen,
the
Asian gaming houses look like penthouses, like owned by like the team owner. Yeah. Right. They get like a penthouse in Shanghai, with great furniture. Looks great, right? When I see the gaming houses in America, they look like Slavi dens. Like there's mattresses on the floor. There's like cups. Like
there are always mattresses on the
floor.
There's
like the 7-Up cups, the big one, or the 7-Eleven cups.
Big
gulps. Yeah. So I'd actually say I think the Asian guys have a better life situation because since it's more established their esports, they're more celebrity-like, and they live in like somewhat luxury, or they get the nice house. Where here, since it's still kind of low end, they get the slums.
I wouldn't mind being in a Shanghai penthouse. That sounds nice. Just don't go outside ever, because actually maybe that's what it is. Maybe we just need more smog, and then we won't want to go outside and have relationships. So we'll just stay in and play games. I wanted to bring up my. This is actually I forgot about this story. This week has been so full of pizzazzy stories, and basically MapleStory back in 2011 added an NPC who I think we saw in our Sunday Funday and probably made a comment on. I think. And basically this NPC was named Donald, and Donald was a package deliverer. And Donald had quite the fly haircut, and he had a nice smile. And MapleStory just came out and said that they removed Donald the NPC because they want to create a politically neutral environment for their players. Nobody gave a fuck about Donald.
Did they say politically neutral environment?
Yes, it's in there. It's in the comment. You can show it on stream. They said their exact quote was, blah, blah, blah. We will strive to keep Maple World a politically neutral environment for all of our players. I don't know. Was anybody complaining about this? I think it was just this NPC was put in the game back in 2011. Somebody who was naming him thought it was funny because he looked like Donald Trump, called him Donald. It wasn't a political statement. And it's too bad. I think if they didn't do this, no one would have known about it. But I don't know. I guess make MMORPGs great again.
Guys, we're going to read tomorrow. Breaking news. Trump bans MapleStory from North America. It's happening.
Wow.
I made sure to tag Trump in our tweet about this. Waiting on his response still.
But maybe after.
Why is he a package deliverer?
Yeah, good question.
Again, it wasn't intentional, I think someone designed the NPC not even realizing what they did. Or they did, and they just did it because they needed to make a package deliver NPC. And
I think it was like a quest NPC where like you could send. I forgot. There was a reason they put the package deliver NPC in, but that NPC stopped working a while ago.
Yes.
It didn't even do anything in the game. So he was basically like bugged out NPC that just stood there forever until they felt like, oh god, Donald Trump's president. We should get rid of this guy to make not make a political message.
I like in their quote today say, we've decided to replace Donald with a new NPC with the same functionality. So they're going to give us a new broken NPC.
Do you think Donald Trump, like, if he knew about this, he'd be upset? He'd be like, Donald, you got fired, all right? You got fired, all right?
You're fired.
Next time, just fired you, Donald Trump. How do you feel about that?
He'd just make a comment about, well, Arnold's ratings have been worse than mine.
Failing company, profits down, losers, sad! Exclamation mark.
Fake news.
Make MapleStory great again. Bring back Donald, guys. I'm in the pro bring back Donald camp.
Let's make a change.org petition. Those always work.
There you go. We should make a WhiteHouse.gov petition. If you get 100,000 signatures on those, you're guaranteed a White House response. So we
I don't know if the new administration's gonna follow
honor that.
One. I know that they're honoring that one.
If they did,
I got this. This. South Korea just doesn't understand the subtleties of the Trump presidency.
That was a fun bit of news. Probably my second favorite bit after the esports one.
All right, if we're on fun stuff, I wanna share a picture I found on the internets, which I thought.
All right,
fun.
sure. Then I gotta take something a little more serious. Hopefully before we end. This time is freaking flying.
All right, so this is a headline I read about an event in Russia that happened. The title is "Graphic Violence in Russia." Russian guy murders his friend over argument about which graphics card is better, NVIDIA or AMD.
Well, which one did he support?
I don't know. I didn't read the actual article.
Oh,
The guy who murdered,
NVIDIA.
is he the one that won? Was he pro NVIDIA or pro? I gotta know. Was the guy that killed somebody AMD or NVIDIA?
Which one ended up NVIDIA? It had to be NVIDIA.
I would
NVIDIA's
kill for
better.
NVIDIA.
I think NVIDIA's gonna. If the AMD guy killed the other guy, it's like AMD fanboys like the saltiest people on earth. Then. Oh god, it's literally graphic violence.
Yeah, people are saying this isn't real, but it doesn't matter. It's still hilarious.
If it's not real, it's still hilarious.
All right.
Oh god.
I reel us back, or Matt, whoever.
So big news.
Oh, it is real.
Since we were talking about how DirectX 9 has been around since Windows XP days, Blizzard is ending support for Windows XP and Vista. They are killing it.
Finally, good thing. Whatever. Force them to upgrade.
Their official statement said something to the effect of, in previous times they had a large portion of their audience was still on these systems, but now that is no longer the case. So people finally got smart and got off of XP.
You know, I still like when you go to a restaurant. Sometimes you see like the check-in, the lady at that writes your name down. Like you can see their computer sometimes, and like you see them run Windows XP. You're like, holy shit! Like why? Like at the computer store, like some of the checkout places or like the price check areas, they run Windows XP. And I'm like, why? Why do you still do that?
All they're doing is checking you in.
I know, but like, I just feel like you're so prone to like spyware and shit. I don't know, because it's long been unsupported.
I know a few people were offended by this. I met someone recently in the wild, as is always my litmus test, who refuses to use anything but Windows XP because they think the
Really?
government's going to spy on them. And I'm going to say, don't worry, the government doesn't care about you, but unless you're searching pressure cookers or something.
Okay,
But-
next time you see that guy, you should tell him to run Temple OS. It has literally no internet functions because the guy who made it literally thought that God was talking to him and wanted him to make an OS. Also, he didn't want anybody spying on anything he was doing on that. I'm not kidding.
The son of Sam OS, huh?
This is real. This is real. I'm not kidding.
That's pretty awesome. Good for that guy.
God bless.
And more interesting news, because that's today's theme. Interesting news.
Well, we got big news. I want to see, hopefully, before we get to the end, the Final Fantasy 14 Stormblood one.
Yeah. So before that, small thing,
Okay.
but it's interesting.
Take it.
Dark Age of Camelot is getting a cash shop.
Ooh,
Who's
that's a
angry?
good one.
Nobody angry? Okay.
Nah.
So they're gonna keep the subscription, and add a cash shop.
Yeah.
That's worth mentioning. But the game is free if you want to play on the private classic server, Uthgard. Check it out.
Actually, now that you brought the microtransactions, it's worth mentioning too. A lot of these games, like subscription-based games that have microtransactions, they make a lot of money from them. I mean, you may not realize, you see the pets in WoW in the store. Here's the old chart from Super Data back in 2013. The subscription revenue is, probably still flattish, so like the numbers are still pretty accurate. But if you look at how much money these games make, like the microtransaction revenue is still like, it's a very difficult chart to read because the left side is up to 210, the right side is on 25 million. But microtransactions make up at least like 10-15% of the subscription revenue. So if the game is making like $100 million a month or something, or like $80 million a month, like you're getting a good portion of that still from microtransactions. So like, people do spend a lot of money in the microtransaction stores in games like FF14, World of Warcraft. So Dark Age of Camelot, we gotta get in on this. I just hate how misleading this chart is, so I'm sorry for it, but it's the only one I can find right now.
All right. So off topic, but on topic.
Mhm.
Here's the thing I hate about cash shop cosmetics that people buy a lot of. A lot of people buy them. It's that simple. I hate that there's so many people that buy these things. Because you pay money to look like everyone else.
Isn't that what we do in everyday life, Matt? Isn't that
That's
just
literally real
carrying-
life too.
Wow, deep
carrying
guys.
reality
Deep.
down to the game?
But guys, don't you guys always know that one guy, your one friend, who always like spends cosmetic money in like MMORPGs, and you're like, damn, this guy spends a lot of money on it.
Yes.
Where's Shu at? Where's Shu at? But no, I have a friend who plays Final Fantasy 14 that race changes like at least once a month. All right, I'm gonna say like 6 times, like 5 times a year, 5-6 times a year.
Wow.
But that's still a lot. I feel like why?
I mean, look, you have the option.
I
If
agree,
something
it's
you wanna
whatever.
do-
God bless their hearts.
It's really. Oh, 1 second. My flux is kicking in. Okay.
Yeah, the worst.
What I always find interesting is the type of person. Like, I'm just not the type of person who spends, right, on cosmetics or anything in these free games. But I remember when I was playing MapleStory for the first time, I recommended it to a friend after playing for like almost 6 months, right? I'm like, hey, play this game, it's free. Within a week, I see him in like a few days, right, in real life, and he tells me he spent like $50. I was really taken aback at first. I'm like, I've been playing 6 months. I never even thought of spending money. I just told you about this. You barely left a newbie island, like, because back then it was hard to level. How did he what did he spend $50 on? Like, I couldn't think of how he could have spent that money. And of course, he got the little pet and the little cosmetics and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta
I look at it
fly.
this way. Look. Some people spend $50 a week on booze. Some people buy cigarettes. Some people get a
It's
massage,
better, yeah.
massage envy. You want to buy cosmetic pets? God bless you. Enjoy them. If you like that, whatever. Everyone has their vice, and I think that
We got to move away from criticizing people that
Yeah,
spend
I
money
think
on
that's
cosmetics.
just exactly
It's
what I'm
not a
saying.
bad thing at all. Whatever. Enjoy your game.
I think some people, I mean, not seeing any of us are doing it, but I think some people do have a tendency to just like go like, why would you do that? Now, I do think if you spend $1,000 in League of Angels too, maybe you need to, think about what you're
Yes,
doing. But
I'm with you there.
there's limits, everything in moderation, yada yada. But I bought a skin in Black Desert. I bought a cosmetic thing. And then I found that everyone else bought the same goddamn thing, so I took it off. So just like Matt said, so I got suckered. But yeah, I think it's fun. It's fun.
My only criticism was that my friend went from like a cat lady to dragon lady to Lalafell to cat lady back to Lalafell. Like, why are you going back to the same one? Right? Try them all at least. That's the only reason I brought that up. But yeah, I don't think we should, poke fun at just spending money on cosmetics. People spend money on cosmetics in real life, literally on makeup, on clothing, on shoes. There's nothing wrong with doing it in a game either.
There's nothing wrong with it. I just hate it because everybody else does.
There you go.
All right, all right, go ahead. I'm not.
I want to mention the Final
Big
Fantasy
news,
14
big
one.
news, yeah.
It's big news. Honestly, we should have brought this up a little sooner too. Major
okay.
news because FanFest EU just happened on Saturday and Sunday, and the timing was a little weird. Actually, the news was coming out right as I was about to go to sleep. I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta cover this because it's important. They announced the Samurai class, a new job for Stormblood, which is still set to launch sometime in June 20th. A lot of new stuff is coming out. You got a brand new quest, basically a new city. The main things that are coming out are the new classes. You had a Red Mage was announced back in I think Tokyo FanFest, and then you got Samurai class which was announced just this last week. So you got 2 new jobs coming out. You have a new housing district, which is unbelievably important for Final Fantasy because the way they handled player housing was like it's a good system, but having it was very hard to get on busy servers because a fixed number of spots. So introducing a new housing district is going to basically increase the size of the housing zones by like 25. Wait, it's going from 3 to 4 now, I believe. So it'll help congestion a lot, make housing more affordable in Final Fantasy 14. So it's a big change, and also adding tons of other small things, but those 2 are obviously the biggest. I think new housing district, new classes, and new content, and an increased level cap of 70. But the 70 cap was announced I think a while ago, so that's nothing new. There's also the increasing the furnishing capacity on all houses by like double, so players can kind of decorate their houses a bit more nicely. But it's a big expansion, and I think Square Enix is going to make a lot of money off this. But yeah, big changes, big updates coming to FF14. I'm excited. I'm going to buy it.
You are our resident FF14 player.
I think Shu played a shit ton back. I think she didn't. She played a shit ton back in Realm Reborn. She didn't really get to the Heaven Sword content. Maybe I'll rope her in to play Stormblood with me.
I tried going back to it, but
it's hard. It's always hard to go back to an MMO.
I could maybe do it for the expansion. We will see.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other fun news?
I guess we can end on this. I thought this was just interesting because everyone likes to complain about their anti-cheat, whether it's Exogen code or Battle Eye or whatever. Valve revealed that they are working on a machine learning, basically an AI in the loosest sense, that will detect cheaters and kick them in Counter-Strike. And there's already a rudimentary version of this AI in the game that apparently is working. So rather than loading up, what was Valve's anti-cheat again? It was I can't remember.
Back.
Literally just Valve anti-cheat.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That is pretty easy to remember. I shouldn't have forgotten that. But so I guess eventually, maybe one day we'll live in a world where we don't have anti-cheat programs. There will just be silent AI that monitor and ban players without you even knowing it, and that would be pretty cool.
It's just unfortunate that they're so riddled with hacks. It's absurd. If you play CS:GO, even on the high level, you encounter hackers pretty often, and I don't know. It's really unfortunate that they persist. Luckily, the way machine learning works and the way this algorithm hopefully should work is that it'll be able to ban these cheaters without a moderator input. The current system is really bad, where Valve anti-cheat kind of has to Valve has kind of programmed in the parameters for detection. So if they see certain behavior, it can auto detect and ban it. But then the people that realize okay, they patched the Valve anti-cheat, we're going to modify our hack so it doesn't use those parameters, it does something different instead. So it's this game of cat and mouse where it goes back and forth, where they detect it, they change, they detect it, they change. So if they do a machine learning algorithm, it can kind of learn on its own what hacking looks like and ban people. It won't be perfect either because there'll probably be some false positives, but it's going to be it'll hopefully clean up the scene.
Guys, is machine learning the new buzzword that will replace cloud computing?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. It's a mega buzzword.
What's your solution to this problem? Oh, the cloud. Now it's machine learning.
That's gonna be the go-to. Every company's gonna talk about.
No, it won't be machine learning. It's gonna be AI. They're gonna say AI.
No. AI is too to a sci-fi. They're gonna,
I think so.
I'm betting on machine learning. They're gonna
betting on
You bet
machine
machine learning. I'm gonna bet on AI.
Okay.
Machine learning is like people already know what AI means, right? But
Yeah.
you say machine learning, that's complicated. Like, oh,
I think that's
that must
why.
that must be complex shit. Take my money, all right?
All right, so also before we end, Omer conveniently put all this stuff together, so I want to go into the east-west divide stuff a bit. You guys know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
to start, I'm actually going to start with Funcom is region locking its official servers, an east-west region lock. And there actually are multiple reasons they're doing this. It's not just the language barrier. It's not just the time zone difference, even though both of those kind of factor in there a little bit. But something we don't think about, and this is a direct quote, is that the different play styles is proving jarring for a lot of players. Like the way that the East and Western players play is different, and it's apparently proving jarring for different Conan Exiles players, which is something I definitely don't think about when I think about playing with people around the world.
I've seen people bitch a lot about like Chinese players on Conan Exiles and like how they're going like a group of like 20 people or just go mega tryhard together. I don't know. Is that seems very odd that they're gonna put that IP restriction in place. That's weird.
I'm actually always surprised by the different play styles. I think we're a lot different than we think, culturally at least. Do you have anything else to say about Funcom? I want to bring up the CrossFire thing.
No, that was it. I mean, they have the whole official servers coming out of Russia and Asia and other places, but that's it.
Yeah. So this week, the guys who make CrossFire, which is the biggest shooter in the world, have announced a renewed push into Europe. They want to make CrossFire an esport, a big esport in Europe. I'm skeptical on whether that can happen. Europeans love Counter-Strike, CS:GO. Are they gonna find a place for a really shitty CS:GO? I don't think so. Like,
it's really weird how popular. If you look at CrossFire, like most I was streaming earlier too. I was telling everybody this game makes over $1 billion a year. Everyone's like, "What the fuck, really?" Yeah, CrossFire makes more money than WoW and CS:GO combined. All right, like these two different genre of games almost. It makes over $1 billion a year. This game is just mega popular, mainly because of China. And I think I can actually understand why this game is popular. It's really because look, even CS 1.6 today is still popular, and like tens of thousands of people play it concurrently. This was the game that was out and became big in China before Counter-Strike took a hold, and this franchise became more relevant to people than CS. I mean, the mechanics are solid. It's I'm not used to the playstyle because the recoil is a lot more than Counter-Strike.
Hold on,
I want
to cut you off. Yes, it's popular in China because it got there before Counter-Strike did, right? Okay, I get that.
Yes.
Whatever. It's kind of entrenched. But
it's entrenched.
The fact that they're trying to push it anew in Europe,
that's absurd. No chance. Zero chance this game will take over. This game will do well in Europe.
I mean, clearly the mindset of the developers or the executives is, wow, we gotta, we're making $1 billion a year. This must be a really good game. Let's, we gotta push this in Europe.
Yeah, the Europeans just don't know how great CrossFire is. No, people that play this today are going to compare it to, especially Europeans and Americans will play this and be like, why would I play this over CS:GO? Yeah, it's free to play. That's probably the biggest sell, right? But no, I think people are going to play CS:GO, and I can understand why it's big, but I don't think it's going to succeed at all, in the West. But this also
even in Russia, they're entrenched in Strike Global Offensive.
Yeah,
not even going to find it there.
Yeah, I mean,
if you look at go.
They are smart that they're targeting kind of Eastern Europe, like the less economically successful currently countries where maybe the computers aren't as good. They're hosting a tournament in Poland. I think it's about $15,000. Yeah, so it's good. It's nice that they're targeting the areas with maybe lower spec computers to start with. But I still don't think they have a chance. Counter-Strike Go has been out for years now. It's very cheap. It's on sale for like $5 very often. I don't think they're gonna find a place.
I want to continue that small discussion. I know we're going a little into overtime, but Matt made a great video on a game called Undefeated Legend. If you haven't seen it, check it out on the MMOs.com YouTube channel. And it goes to the further East-West divide. Like, I can look at CrossFire and understand why it's popular, but like when we look at games like Undefeated Legend and League of Angels, like these browser game looking style games, whether it's Felspire, a lot of these games, like, to me, it's remarkable how popular Undefeated Legend is. I think Matt told me earlier it was like number 14 most played on 17173.com's like popular games list. So this game has countless servers, mega popular. And I think a lot of us, when we look at this game, it seems like something that we wouldn't be interested in. Like what we view as like a great game just doesn't always work in China, and what's popular in China clearly doesn't always work in America. I mean, Perfect World actually ended up they stopped, launching their self-developed games in America. They realized like Western audiences don't like J Dynasty, Perfect World, and they basically stopped because they made a few new games in China that they never launched in America, and instead they're focusing on partnering with Gigantic, with buying out Western studios and publishing those games in America. And even Neverwinter, which is doing pretty well in America, it's shutting down in China. So what works in America clearly doesn't always work in China, and what works in China doesn't always work in America. I mean, I'm looking at this game like it's not my cup of tea. Matt, you were pretty neutral. You talked about all the features in the game. Like, what did you think about Undefeated Legend? Would you would you return to this game?
Well, I'd like to return to it because it has 1,000 versus 1,000 sieges.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in seeing how that plays out. But the way that I saw it, I think the simplest way that I can put this is that if you took a browser game like Felspire or Mage Realm and you threw a bunch of Black Desert features at it, that's kind of what you got. It's not a sandbox like it. It's got more of the Mage Realm type things, but it's got like the open PK grind zones. It's got the trade routes. It's got the huge PvP element to it. Like the entire game is based around nation-based PvP, basically. There are all sorts of zones where you can PK people. So, I mean, it kind of feels like an adaptation of Black Desert's overall like gameplay. And on some level, that's interesting, right? Like, I mean, you have to respect how many different features they've put into this game on top of having the basic browser-like gameplay. It's just the fact that it is so simple, and the fact that as a two-person team, Kat and I had to spend 9 minutes on a single boss that doesn't do much damage. It's just painful.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you talked about it, I was like, holy shit, like who has the patience to do that?
9 minutes.
That's nuts. It just stood there as you beat on it for 9 minutes, and it wasn't even challenging. It's so weird. But these games do amazing. This game is so popular. This game probably has millions of players. It's booming.
Yeah, it's huge. And so yeah, I am probably going to go back to it at some point and talk about the PvP elements once I get to there, but it's not something that I can easily recommend to a Western audience. And just as a clarification on the Neverwinter thing, it's only the PC version.
Yes.
Interestingly, the Xbox One, PS4 versions are staying after the Xbox One version was a launch title in China. And I don't know about the PS4 version, but both of them have had a very short run in China so far, because for a long time, I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but consoles were actually illegal in China. They had specifically made one console called Secbox or something. I don't remember. And it was the only one that was allowed. ISEC, that's it. It was the only one allowed in China. And more recently, they have released the O-Box, which Snail Games is slowly trying to put its games on, like the mobile versions, King of Wushu in 4K capabilities. But yeah, so it's interesting to see that the console versions are doing well, whereas they shut down the PC version, considering how short of a run consoles as a whole have had.
Man, I don't think the console version is gonna do well in China either. I mean, I want to look up some numbers maybe for next week, but I remember when like they first launched Xbox in China and like PS4 and PS3, like the sales were pretty awful. I don't think Chinese consumers are adopting consoles at the rate of Japanese and American people, and Europeans buy them even.
Oh, Japanese users aren't adapting consoles at a very great rate anymore either.
Not anymore, I know, but still, I think vastly more than China. I mean, we gotta look up some data on China.
PS4 you'd be surprised how low the PS4 install base is in Japan. That's why all these big JRPGs are also still coming out on PS3.
All right. Maybe we could talk this console discussion overtime.
Yeah, overtime time, baby.
All right.
Last point, one sentence point.
All right.
Today marks the day. Landmark is gone. Daybreak's Landmark no longer exists. It's gone.
What a landmark.
Bye, Landmark.
There it is.
And thus concludes February 21st.
All right,
Wouldn't
guys.
it suck if Landmark were the metaphorical landmark of SOE's history?
It could be.
All right, that's it. Stick
See ya.
around for overtime.
Take care.
If you're on YouTube, do catch us live on Tuesdays on Twitch, 4 p.m. PST. Take it easy, guys.
Later, guys.